puck is dropped, and it's showtime from downtown Winnipeg. Nice pass, a shot, they score! Shankly Cutter scores! What a stop by Hellebuck! Nikolai Ehlers off the faceoff!
Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. This is episode 132. It's a pretty robust number. We've been plugging away.
It's quite robust.
Here at the old podcast machine.
Vocabulary getting a workout early on.
Yes.
Robust.
Yes, all right. Joined, as always, by myself, Tyler Esquivel, Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton, and 680 CJOB's Jamie Thomas on the podcast for you this week. And our guest is Morgan Barron, the player acquired in the Andrew Copp trade.
Nice.
The one player that we know of now, because there's some draft picks there. So hopefully we get to meet some of those other guys
Eventually.
I'm
Yes.
sure we'll have them on the pod as well. Lots to talk about on the show. Today, as always, we'll talk about the week that was. We'll talk about 81 and 88. That's Kyle Connor and Nate Schmidt returning to practice on Monday at Canada Life Center in preparation for Wednesday's game. They obviously, everybody knows now, but if you don't, they had the COVID, and they had to sit out the Buffalo, the Toronto, and the LA games. So
Just 2 more days.
kind of a bummer, yeah. It is what it is. That's the world. Ville Heinola, we're going to talk about him. Adam Lowry, that's a guy who plays on this hockey team that we can talk about. And then we'll close it off after the interview with Mr. Barron. We'll talk about the week ahead and just the task and the challenge that lies ahead of the Winnipeg Jets as they push for the postseason. But before we get into everything, the media availability on Monday with Schmidt and Connor, there was some talk of a road trip. And what was done on said road trip. Now, Nate Schmidt, as most know, is that guy loves to chit-chat and would be a fantastic road trip partner. Excluding those two gentlemen on this team, if you two had to take a road trip with a member of the Winnipeg Jets, who would it be? And then what would your choice of entertainment be for said road trip and that person? That's a really complicated question.
That's a really good question, actually. Part of me wants to say, so I golf a lot in the summer. So I would pick, honestly, any Jet that plays a lot of golf. That would be good. And then, honestly, when it comes to, radio and stuff like that or podcasts or whatever, I'm up for listening to anything. I know I've asked guys like Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey about, are you getting the new, TaylorMade driver that's coming out and all that kind of stuff. So I know that they're real big into the sport. Kyle Connor obviously is too, but you've taken him off the table.
Yes.
So I would, anybody that I could talk golf with, especially if we're talking going the distances that they had to. Anything along those lines I would probably go with.
TaylorMade not a sponsor, by the way.
No, sorry. That's just the exact question I asked. I'm giving exact
Blank made clubs. Put the sponsor's name here, made clubs.
If you want to be a sponsor,
hey, reach out.
you reach out.
That would be great.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd go Mark Scheifele because he loves Marvel. So I could pass. I could pass hours talking about that stuff with him. So and have done so before, just not as available to us as it has been in years past because of the COVID era.
Yeah.
Yes.
For me, it'd be Evgeny Svechnikov.
Oh,
That's fair.
Because that guy is a unique individual, and honestly, you don't know where it could go in terms of the tales and the stories. And I'd probably just throw on a podcast, some sort of thought-provoking podcast.
An intellectual, are you?
And then, yes, and then we just keep going. Okay.
yeah, those are all.
I'm glad we got
unique.
the important stuff out of the way.
Well, Mitch is very broad, so
Yeah.
he could have anybody.
Yeah, I don't have really anybody specific. I'm just, everybody's
See,
welcome.
you're not
in my
picky
vehicle.
though. You're not
Gosh.
picky though. So that's what basically was saying. So if Brownie just said, "Here, you're driving with blank," you'd be happy.
100%. Yeah.
Whereas I'd be like,
It's good.
"What? Not Scheif?
God.
I
Okay.
don't want to talk about that."
Okay. Hey, that was a nice little...
It was.
That was fun. Let's do that more. Week in review. Mitchell Clinton, the back-to-back road trip, Buffalo and Toronto. Things going the Jets' way in Buffalo, and man, oh man, what an exciting shootout. 3 for 3. I didn't do my research ahead of time. I don't know the last time.
I believe it was the first.
That was the first.
That would be why you couldn't find anything on it.
Well, no, you missed what I said. I said I didn't do my research.
I was, trying to cover for you.
No, it's fine. I'm fine with admitting it. It's okay.
Yeah, no, it was spectacular. Like and the moves too. Like Pierre-Luc Dubois, I think every time I've seen him in the shootout, he kind of swings out wide and then cuts into the middle and then just basically picks a spot. And worked out for him on this one, beating Craig Anderson. And then Mark Scheifele, like the goal that Scheifele scores, I think can only be appreciated when you spin the camera behind Scheifele and you see the shot that he takes and where it goes in the net and the corner picking that goes on there. It's a sensational shot. So if you haven't seen that replay, you should definitely find that. And then Blake Wheeler with the hands of, you could say, Kyle Connor. He sent Patrick Kane after the game right in front of Craig Anderson and scores an absolutely massive goal for the Winnipeg Jets to give them the win. And then the next night, 16th game in 31 days, facing off against the Toronto Maple Leafs, a team that's battling in the Atlantic Division there. And yeah, the Jets got off to a great start, but Blake Wheeler kind of said after the game, like it was, they were cooked. They were, the legs were kind of gone. They had a big surge a little bit to start the third period, but ultimately the Toronto Maple Leafs earning the 7-3 win over the Jets that night. And it's always quite the season series between the two teams. Winnipeg won back here a number of months ago, 6-3. So, you're always going to see offense when it's the Jets and the Maple Leafs, and that was no exception that night. Tough one for the Winnipeg Jets penalty kill that night, just simply because they're going up against the top-ranked power play in the National Hockey League, and on the back end of a back-to-back. It's tough, and Toronto was also on the back end of a back-to-back when they were in Winnipeg, so both teams kind of got the feel of what that was like in that regard. And then the Jets come home to start this 3-game homestand. I said it was 16 games in 31 days in March. If you add on Saturday's game against LA, it's 17 and 33. And the Winnipeg Jets, they were in it throughout the entire contest, but ultimately falling by a score of 3-2. And I guess you could say that the Kings were exactly as advertised. It was tough to get a lot of quality shots at their net. They really protect the middle of the ice well. As the game went on, the Jets kind of seemed to figure it out a little bit. They were getting inside a little bit more often. But, yeah, they just weren't able to get back on even footing with the Los Angeles Kings. They lose Jansen Harkins in that game as well. 48 seconds of ice time for him. He's still being evaluated as we record this podcast at 2:15 p.m. on Monday. But Dave Lowry said he won't play Wednesday against Detroit. So a tough loss up front for the Winnipeg Jets for Jansen Harkins, a guy that seems to be just building more and more confidence as the year goes on. So hopefully he makes a quick recovery.
Jamie, like we talked about off the top, Kyle Connor and Nate Schmidt returned from COVID protocol, and they missed the 3 games, unfortunately. But just what does adding those two back into the fold mean for the Winnipeg Jets as they try and push for a playoff spot?
Well, first off, you get your top point-producing defenseman back in the lineup. Your top shot blocker, Nate Schmidt, is as reliable as it is. One of the reasons why the Jets looked to be as a strong playoff contender when he was added in the offseason. And I think you need his veteran presence on the blue line in tough times like this, and certainly in the dressing room. So that was missed over the 3 games. And then you add a game breaker in Kyle Connor. It's just, you think of all the times that he could have got COVID this year. This last stretch was probably the worst time, especially for that game against Toronto. He's just taking that out of the lineup against the Leafs in a high-scoring game, and especially with the power play opportunities. And again on Saturday with the 6 that the Jets had and couldn't find a way to get the puck past Cal Peterson. You think of what that means. So he's fresh, he's ready to go, and I just think this is going to make things a lot more interesting. And I what a great player he is. And I also think of, if he misses out on 50 goals this year, we're going to look back at these 3 games as a very frustrating starting point of why that didn't happen, because I felt like that was a for sure thing to happen. Now it's a little bit in doubt.
Yes, obviously we'll watch for that.
Yeah.
Now, Nate Schmidt being out of the lineup meant a little bit of a bump in opportunity for Ville Heinola, and that's our next topic of conversation here. Mitchell, what have you seen from the young defenseman? He was paired with Nate Schmidt at Monday's practice. He's got 5 points in his last 6 NHL games played. He was a +2 on Saturday against the Kings. And his ice time's been up above 15 minutes, scratched 20 against the Buffalo Sabres as well. So he's definitely getting more of an opportunity here as of late.
Yeah, really almost took the words out of my mouth in terms of the opportunity that's in front of him. I mean, anytime you're getting close to 20 or 21 minutes of ice time as he was against Buffalo, that's an indicator of, one, you're playing well, two, you've got the trust of the coaching staff behind you, whether it's Charlie Huddy running the defense or it's interim, head coach Dave Lowry making adjustments as the game goes on. But I mean, ultimately, that just shows the level of trust that I think Ville Heinola is developing as he continues to play. I mean, he played a couple of NHL games earlier this season, or he played a number of them, but the last 2 that he played in February 12th and 14th, he had picked up assists in those games. Plays some American Hockey League games, comes back, picks up right where he left off, gets an assist against Arizona, another one against Buffalo, and then he, like you mentioned, gets another one against the Los Angeles Kings on April 2nd. I think with him, he's always been a guy that can move the puck really well. His great first passes are usually something you always hear when it comes to Ville Heinola, and then also his ability to skate and see the ice really well. Now, to do all those things great at the NHL level, you just got to do it a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, and read the play a little bit faster. So it takes some getting used to, I would think. And the more regular that you're able to see it, in terms of whether it's in-game shifts or just game after game after game, a guy as smart as Ville Heinola at reading the ice and reading the play is going to be able to do just that. Now, of course, the challenge is for him that he has to learn, and that comes along with every game that he plays, is teams are going to play him differently. Some of them are going to go right at him in terms of, on the forecheck and throw some hits and make him adjust to that, or they're going to battle with him in front of the net, try to get that positioning that, Dave Lowry always talks about. The Jets want to defend well in front of their own net. He's going to have to figure out the strategies that work for him. Obviously, at the American Hockey League level, I'd say he's definitely got it figured out to a degree that he likes, but every day is a chance to improve. Now you come to the National Hockey League, guys are a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, everything happens a little bit quicker. So I think for him, it's just a matter of putting himself in those positions and finding ways to have success, and he's certainly been able to do that over the last little bit. I thought he played really well against the Los Angeles Kings. And with Nate Schmidt out, he got a little bit of power play time as well. And that's obviously something that he's really good at, being, whether it's at the top or in that one-timer position. He's a guy that can make things happen offensively. He found a number of seam passes from that left point kind of through to the other side in that right circle that's some real dangerous opportunities that can come from the Winnipeg Jets when those passes are complete, and he has the confidence to make those plays. So a lot of really good things from Ville Heinola over the last little bit. Looking forward to seeing how he can continue to build on that.
Underrated shot that young defenseman has. It is a heavy, when it hits.
Well, his first NHL goal, it's a couple seasons ago now, but it's the exact thing. He absolutely hammers a slap shot in Pittsburgh that I can't recall who was in goal at the time, but
it was Murray.
I think so, and it just dribbles right through him because Murray got a fair amount on that.
Yes,
but
it wasn't just a dribbler.
Ville blasted it through him. So clearly, and as he gets bigger, stronger, that's only going to get better.
Most of the time, when you're talking analysis, we use points as an indicator of success. But that's not necessarily the case with Adam Lowry. I think, everybody involved with this Winnipeg Jets hockey team and covering it would tell you that Adam Lowry's had a pretty terrific season when it comes to consistency and being a go-to guy night in, night out to do his job, essentially. And he's 4 goals shy of his career high, which was 15 set back in the 16-17 season. He's got 11 goals now. The shorthanded goals have been, it seems like for a stretch there, every night he had a chance shorthanded. Jamie, just what can you say of Adam Lowry's play this season and what that consistency has meant to the Winnipeg Jets, who have had some, I don't want to say issues, but just consistency troubles with injuries and whatnot, and just being able to rearrange things and know that Adam is going to be that reliable piece in that middle spot for you.
Yeah, that reliable part is winning over 50% of his faceoffs. He's won 52.6% of his faceoffs this year, and a good indication, or it was unfortunate indication, the game against Toronto. The third line, the Jets lean on a lot with the idea with Mason Appleton to grind on other teams and wear them down as the game wears along. The fact that the Jets had to kill so many penalties in the game against the Leafs took away the effectiveness of that third line because Mason Appleton and Adam Lowry on the ice killing so many penalties. On top of that, Lowry's on pace for a career high in takeaways. He's over 200 hits again this year. That seems to be a consistent thing with Adam Lowry, and just that solid penalty killer can help you out on the power play. But there's just so many. He's the reason why their penalty kills started to get on a roll there for a good stretch of time after such a tough start. But and with Adam Lowry, it's just reliable. You know exactly what you're getting every night. He knows what he is in the National Hockey League. He's a third-line center with some fantastic penalty killing abilities, and the ability to win more than 50% of his face-offs. So it's just that reliable part that any coach who is with this team knows what he's going to get every night with him. And it's that consistency that I think is something we should admire and appreciate a lot as the people that cover this team and certainly the fans that watch the Jets.
Morgan Barron is our guest here on Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. He managed to get into the lineup against Toronto, and it was kind of funny because I was out in the loop at the hotel getting some video of the guys coming onto the bus. There's two buses, so it was the first bus. I take the second bus. Anyway, so I had some time. And as I was heading back upstairs to my room to grab my luggage, Morgan Barron followed me into the elevator, introduced myself, and I just sort of said, like, what's the day been like for you? And at that time, we didn't know he was playing that night. So he said that his flight was delayed coming out of Winnipeg to Toronto because it was at first an emergency recall. So he was up at 5:30 in the morning. So anytime you just get to start that early, and then you got to travel on top of that,
It's tough.
it's tough. It's exhausting. And I said to him, well, and I thought he was checking in because there's a later bus, so there would have been about a 2.5 hour window. And I said, well, go grab yourself a nap. And he got off the elevator or whatever. And then 15 minutes later, he walks on the same bus that you and I are both on.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's a little weird. And then lo and behold, he's in the lineup and, played 5 minutes that first night. But I think that's all they were really looking for out of a player getting acclimated into the lineup. And then 7 minutes against the LA Kings as well. And lots of stuck out about this gentleman, and you'll hear from him now.
Shop where the players shop. Jets Gear and TrueNorthShop.com are your authentic team stores. Make sure to stock up on all your favorite Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose merchandise today. Visit one of the 5 Jets Gear locations or shop online at TrueNorthShop.com.
Hi, this is Nate Schmidt, and you're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
Joined here by Morgan Barron on the Ground Control podcast, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. Have you ever done a podcast interview before?
I've done a few of them here and there, but nothing too crazy. So.
Okay. So first question for you, just how's the time been in Winnipeg so far the past couple weeks?
It's been good. It's been exciting. Obviously, things happened pretty quickly when the trade went through, so I was excited to land in Winnipeg and just kind of get my bearings. Right off the bat, I met the Moose on the road in Chicago and Rockford, so, kind of expedited the process of getting to know those guys there because we spent a little bit of time on the road. And then since I've just kind of been getting settled in Winnipeg, and I've gotten the opportunity to get called up and play a few games with the Jets. So it's been exciting so far.
Who helps coordinate finding a place to live and just all that other stuff that, the basic human being needs to function kind of thing?
Yeah, there's been a ton of different people who have helped me. I mean, just starting to get to know everybody here, I think, up and down the organization, with the Moose and with the Jets. They've done such a good job of helping me get acclimated. I know Brad Andrews with the Moose was the first person who kind of got me settled in and was letting me know where I was going to be staying and such. And then, from there, there's so many people, I can't even name them all, who've done a great job. And that's the players and the staff, too. I mean, the players have done a great job of just making sure I feel comfortable and I have everything I need. So I'm very thankful for all that.
So your recall was on an emergency basis, as they are on the paper, but I ran into you in the elevator, and I didn't know you were playing that night. I even said to you, have a good nap, and you were probably like, So I guess, what was that day like for you? Your flight was delayed. You were there at you said you were up at 5:30?
Yeah, it was a really crazy day. When I originally got recalled, Mo, the coach with the Moose, he said, I'm not sure if you're going to be playing or not. Obviously, prepare to be ready to go if you are. So that's, even when I was in Hartford, New York, that was always my mentality. You never really know if you're playing when you get called up, but try to make the most out of it and be ready. So, yeah, I woke up at, I think my alarm was set for like 4:30 or something like that, and went to the airport. And then as soon as I got through security and got my bag checked in and everything, found out my flight was delayed like 4 hours. So I got a little bit of an airport nap, and then I caught my flight, and there was a little bit of delay when we got on the ground in Chicago, just getting my gear and stuff. But I got to the hotel at 3:30 in the afternoon in Toronto, and very quick turnaround. I know that was the first time I met all the guys on the Jets. So, said my hellos, and then went up, got changed, and turned right back around and headed over to the rink. And it was exciting. But, even under those circumstances, you always want to play. You always want to be in the lineup. So I was grateful I got that opportunity.
You come to Winnipeg, obviously, through the trade that sent Andrew Copp to the New York Rangers. Just what have your conversations been like with the management and the coaches, given that you're new to the organization, a young prospect, obviously somebody who the Jets wanted right from the get-go? Yeah,
when I first took the phone calls from all the different management pieces here, I think the main message was that they were excited to have me, and they just wanted me to come here and kind of prove to them that I can I can play at this level and be an effective player in the NHL. So it was all very positive. I know it was reassuring to know, as much as you may have been traded away from another team, it means that there's a team who wanted you and was willing to give up some pieces to get you. So I was excited about it. I think I said it a few times now, but it feels like a fresh start for me. And just to be in that locker room, it's really exciting.
You've played 2 games so far with the Winnipeg Jets. Just how do you kind of summarize how you've played so far? Yeah.
I think it's been good. I know I'm trying to earn the coach's trust every game. I know that's a process when you get to a new team, and earn more minutes every night. So it's been good. Obviously, we've come up short in the 2 games, which is a little bit disappointing. But I think there's been times when we've really been able to play good hockey. And for me, seeing the type of hockey this team likes to play, I think it fits really well with my style of game. So that's getting pucks below the goal line, winning battles, maintaining possession in the offensive zone, things like that. So it's been reassuring for me to kind of see that style, and I can see myself fitting in for a long time with this team.
You went to Cornell University, Ivy League school. Just what went into that decision to play college hockey?
Yeah, well, I grew a little bit later than a lot of kids around me. So being from Halifax, Nova Scotia, the natural route was for people to jump in and play in the QMJHL for a couple of years and then either take a crack at pro or play Canadian University after that. But, I didn't have that opportunity at 16 years old. I wasn't drafted into the league at the time. So I kind of started exploring prep school options and eventually wound up at St. Andrews in Ontario and had a great 2 years there. And, pretty quickly, during my first year, my grade 11 year at St. Andrews, I had a few schools kind of recruiting me, and as soon as I took my visit to Cornell, I was really excited about it. The campus is beautiful, the team is great, and the coaches really seemed interested in me. So, I'm really thankful I made that decision. I love my time there. I was lucky enough to graduate from there and have 3 years of really good hockey where we were a competitive team each year. Obviously, we got canceled the last year because of COVID, which is a little bit disappointing, but I wouldn't trade all those experiences for anything.
Going to an Ivy League school, obviously education is something that is a huge emphasis there. And just how important was education for you growing up, and what kind of student were you? I would imagine you were probably a pretty good one.
I did my best. Mom and dad always emphasized that for me. And, to be able to open those doors to get such a great education, through hockey, it's a pretty cool experience. And, I'm always grateful for that. Obviously, there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made by my parents and really everybody in my family and my immediate circle to help me achieve that goal. So, I liked it. I studied business while I was there, and like I said, I was lucky enough to graduate. So, it's a really special chapter in my life, and I'm glad I can kind of play hockey and not have to worry about school or anything like that after.
Your brother Justin was drafted in the first round, so obviously hockey sort of runs in the family. Is there an athletic pedigree with your parents, or were they just are they athletes, or did it start with you two?
No, they definitely both played a ton of sports growing up. I know my dad always has his pictures of him playing hockey, junior hockey back home, and my mom played a ton of sports as well. So right from the get-go, I think we were both lucky to kind of have a little bit of natural talent at the start. And, I think more than anything else, they just instilled a really strong work ethic in both of us and showing all the sacrifices that they made. And, it's you hear a lot of kids from Canada and talk about it, especially about mom and dad waking up really early to drive you to the rink and, going straight from the rink to school and all that stuff. So we were very much a part of that generation.
You wore the C in one of your, or how many years at Cornell were you?
My last year.
Your last
Third
year?
year,
Okay,
yeah,
so just what was it like to be a leader? And then off of that, how does being a leader at that level help you prepare for this level where you're kind of starting at the bottom and working yourself up? Does that sort of give you an extra element of maybe maturity, or how do you look at that?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. You know, I've always kind of had the mentality of, you know, that you need to have leaders at different levels. So, you know, even as a freshman at Cornell, you're not going to be necessarily the most talkative guy in the room. You may not be the one standing up and calling guys out and such, but you know, I think there's still different levels of leadership, and that could be something as simple as showing maturity at certain times. You know, going out there working hard, blocking a shot, whatever it may be. So. I kind of got to grow into that role, and I know we had a few different captains that year. There were 3 of us who wore it, including Jeff Malott, who's with the Moose right now. So it was a good experience for me. I think, you know, you learn a lot about what it takes to be a good leader, and also what it takes to be someone who may be a little bit younger on the team, and you kind of see the guys who react to you differently and such. So I think it was a good learning experience for me, and there's tons of lessons I was able to take away from it.
It's a bit of a broad question, but I think everybody who is in that dressing room and everybody sort of involved with the team has a love for the game of hockey. Mm-hmm. What is it about hockey that you love? And obviously you're a smart guy. You could have probably went a few different ways in life. What is it about this game and this sport that keeps you engaged every single day and wanting to do this for the long run?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think first and foremost is it's competitive. You know, to be in the NHL, you got to be competitive by nature, and you can see that each and every night, and even in practices and stupid little things like playing soccer before the game. I think you can tell how competitive everybody is. So that was kind of what got me started in sports in general, I guess. I mean, I played a ton of sports growing up: soccer, basketball, and hockey and lacrosse. So that's probably the main thing. And then from there, you know, I can't really tell you exactly what attracted me to it, but you know, I think it's something in the essence of it's such a complex game. You know, it's not a game where you can master it very easily. There's so many different aspects to it where, you know, every summer I go home and I feel like there's a bucket list of things I can work on. You know, whether it be your skating, your stick handling, your shooting, like there's so many different skills you can incorporate into your game and can make you an effective player in this league. And I think it's even opened my eyes even more now being in the NHL and being around some of these guys. You see how good they are at different things and different aspects of their game. So I don't really know what to call it, but there's definitely elements of that, of just, you know, the kind of the impossible chase of mastering certain elements.
Are you somebody that, and I hope the question gets understood, are you a thinker when you come to the rink, or is this a place where you walk in and the things that are going on outside of hockey or just in life in general, you know, don't necessarily matter, and you're able to sort of free yourself and focus on this one thing, and it's good for the mental health in a way?
Yeah, I think I am a thinker. Sometimes I wish I wasn't so much a thinker. You know, I think the people who are able to come to the rink and drop everything and, you know, just be present in that moment, those are oftentimes the best players, the happiest people, and so on and so forth. So I think being in the situation I've been in for the last couple of years of kind of being up and down and, you know, in and out of the lineup or on different lines, that's kind of where the thinking can come into play. So I've worked really hard at that, of, you know, just when you come into the rink, you know, leaving your phone behind, just kind of blocking everything out and enjoying yourself, because at the end of the day, you know, it's a pretty cool experience we get to have here. We get to come to the rink and, you know, do what we love to do as our job every single day. So we're really lucky and blessed to do it. And that's kind of the mentality I've tried to carry with me. And, you know, I think it's helped me leave those things behind and just have fun and play hockey.
Last one for you. What does Morgan Barron get up to away from the hockey rink? What types of things keep you busy in the summer, or just when you're not at the rink?
Yeah, summer I love to golf. I know me and my brother will play quite a bit back home. So golf's a big one. I love to travel. You know, I try to take at least one trip at the end of every season just to kind of unwind and see the world. So that's another part of it. And, you know, with that, I think comes like hiking and such. So a bunch of different things. You know, I love watching movies. I love Star Wars. I've seen all the Star Wars movies and shows. So I guess those are kind of the main things that come to mind right now. I know since being in the dressing room, a lot of the guys talk about fishing and stuff up here. So that's something I'd kind of like to dip my toes into a little bit as we get into the Winnipeg winters. And I know some of the guys talk about ice fishing and stuff. So a whole bunch of stuff I'm always trying to learn and do new things.
Yeah, you came in at the good time because this
So
winter was awful.
Yeah.
I guess I have to ask then, where have you traveled to, and do you have something lined up for after the season?
Yeah, well, I've just started to come into having a little bit of money to travel, obviously, now having a job.
Probably
so
helps.
yes, it does. So last summer I went out to Yosemite for about a week and traveled around that area and was able to do some hiking and stuff out there. And this summer I'm hoping to get overseas. I know with COVID restrictions it was difficult last summer, but Italy's on my bucket list, so that's kind of what I've got eyed down, and haven't got anything planned too far ahead yet, but I'd love to make a trip out there.
Morgan, thanks so much, man.
Awesome, thank you.
Winnipeg Jets fans, did you know that online 50/50 tickets presented by PlayNow.com are available for all Winnipeg Jets games? That's right, whether the Jets play on the road or at home, you can participate in the game day 50/50 draw. The winner will take home half of the jackpot, with all proceeds in support of the True North Youth Foundation. Remember to buy your tickets on all Jets game days at winnipegjets.com/50/50.
Moving right along here, the podcast, the Winnipeg Jets taking on the Detroit Red Wings this Wednesday, and then on Friday they close out the work week against the Colorado Avalanche. Mitch, before we get to you to talk about those two games, it is Hellebuck bobblehead night
Yes.
on Wednesday against the Detroit Red Wings. If you'd like a bobblehead, get down here to Canada Life Center, and there will be one waiting at your seat. They are really cool. I'm sure you folks have seen the little promo video where he fishes it out of the ice. We actually drilled a hole. There is a lake under there. There's
Many
a lake.
people don't know this.
Yes, and it's filled with fish and bobbleheads.
Yes.
At the end of the season, you too will get to fish. Do some ice fishing
That'd be
here
hilarious.
at Canada Life Center.
Anyway,
Just like Connor Hellebuck.
true story, not an April Fool's joke. Mitch,
Yes.
the Detroit Red Wings. Get your tickets, by the way, winnipegjets.com/tickets for both games and games further if you're available. Tell us about the matchups that are coming up.
Well, Detroit's a team that's kind of been interesting to me this year just because of the fact, they're clearly still rebuilding, but a lot of the pieces that they have are starting to get to a point in their career where their contributions are a little bit more consistent. I remember the old Paul Maurice saying, you would get a player that would come in, you'd be young, you'd get 1 out of 4, but that one game would always make you think like, man, like this guy could be something else. And then as they get a little bit older, you get 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4. And then you end up getting to a guy like Blake Wheeler that you pretty much know what you're getting every single night. And the off nights, quote unquote, are very few and far between. So I think Detroit is starting to kind of see see things go their way in that department. Obviously, you got guys like, Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond that are just having spectacular seasons. They're sitting 5th in the Atlantic Division right now at 26, 34, and 9. A negative 71 goal differential, so clearly a team that's allowing some goals. And on the road, they're 9, 21, and 3. So, of course, the Winnipeg Jets, they need wins, and it doesn't really matter who it's against. But you got to look at that game against Detroit and think, that could be a game that they could get back in the win column and start getting some momentum rolling, because later in the week you've got the Colorado Avalanche, and that's a team that the Winnipeg Jets have had some struggles with this season so far. I mean, all you have to do is look back at the last meeting where the Jets had just a spectacular start going up 3-0, and you end up losing that game as well. Colorado is far and away the leader in the Western Conference at 49, 14, and 6. They've got 104 points. The next closest team is Minnesota right now with 91. And that includes in the Pacific Division, where Calgary's leading the way with 89 points. So Colorado clearly a tough team to go up against. Some injury issues with Colorado, but it's always expected that the players are going to be back in the lineup for the playoffs for Colorado. So every time that they come into Winnipeg, it's always tough. But at the same time, that can always bring some of your best out when you're playing against a team like that. So I kind of look forward to seeing how the Winnipeg Jets respond to that. And then, you mentioned that's the end of the work week. You do have a back-to-back with Ottawa and Montreal on Sunday and Monday. Clearly a couple of games the Winnipeg Jets would want to get some wins out of. But one game at a time, as Dave Lowry always says, it's pretty much all you can really do and all you can really control. So all the focus, as you can imagine, will be on Detroit on Wednesday.
Exactly. Jamie, the focus for the Winnipeg Jets is obviously just that next game. But when you look at the grander picture, and I know they don't do that in there, but that's what we're here for, I guess. The Winnipeg Jets, as we record this on Monday, sit 6 points back of that final wild card playoff spot that's occupied by Vegas at the moment. Dallas holds the next spot in line at 81 points, so 5 points ahead of the Jets at this very moment, Monday afternoon. The Stars, as it sits now, have 2 games in hand on the Jets. But by the time the puck drops on Wednesday, that game in hand will only be down to 1. So the opportunity slowly is creeping ahead for the Jets in terms of getting those games in hand away from Dallas, which is obviously something you want. Just how do you keep the focus here as you continue on in search of a playoff spot?
Well, Dallas loses last night, and Darryl Ray, their color analyst, consistently said throughout the night they're running out of gas. And Dallas plays 16 games in the month of April, so they have some games to make up in there. But you look at that, and we'll look at what's going on outside of what Winnipeg is doing right now. Vegas is starting to play a lot better right now, but they have some cap issues coming up here momentarily with Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty getting set to return from LTIR. So that will begin some creative accounting on behalf of the Vegas Golden Knights. So they have that part going on. So you have a little bit of help here and there where you can look for some optimism, and the optimism that I believe remains inside the dressing room of the Jets. Watching them at practice today, I mean, you're happy because you see 88 and 81 back out on the ice. That brings out some optimism. And listening to Schmidt and Connor talk today, there's no quit in the dressing room, so there's a lot of that part there. So it is, I believe this week obviously is huge for them because as of Sunday, that's 5 games in 7 nights, and that's where it gets difficult. There's 2 back-to-backs in there mixed with a game against Seattle on home ice on the next Wednesday. So the schedule is going to get really challenging coming up here. So the Jets are going to need these few days off to use to their advantage. Detroit, and then hope that you have – I mean, they've always played Colorado much better on home ice than they have in Denver. That's flat out. That's a fact. So there's that as well. And then I always look at Ottawa. There's something to a return kind of thing is you just can't let the Senators hang around. They're so good at hanging around against the Jets. We saw it 100 million times last year in the Scotia North Division. So it's just if you win your 3 games or 2 of the 3 or 5 of 6 points this week, you're putting yourself in a much better position. So it's a challenge, but I believe that group believes they have that opportunity and the ability to do that.
Well, that concludes the podcast for this week. Pretty exciting week away from the hockey world as it's the Masters week.
Yes.
Cue the piano music.
Yes.
There it is. Oh, beautiful. The birds are
Puts you in a really good mindset.
Shot.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great week, everyone. And next time we talk to you, there will be a Masters champion. Hopefully, there'll be a few more wins in the Jets win column. We'll talk to you next week.
This is Big Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV. For Jets news, videos, and more, head to winnipegjets.com.
Proceed with Able.